Jimmy, Kevin Cheveldayoff was saying the other day, one of the regrets, I guess, is that you guys stopped doing these for a couple of years, just recognizing, I guess, the immense value of these. Safe to say, happy that another one is here?
Yeah, there's a real personal touch to being able to spend time with these players in the middle of summer. Yeah. And not only for us, but for them to get to know each other and, hopefully build some relationships that, will happen in the future that will blossom and be a big part of this organization. You do everything you can off the ice and, at this times to help them do that. And I think that's one of the great things about this week.
Given the state of this prospect pool right now, are you brushing up on your Swedish?
No, you know what? We've got some great prospects. Not only the Swedes, we've got some great prospects. I like going over there and seeing those players. It's one of my favorite places to go. It's just really good to have all the kids here.
Yeah.
I guess one of the ideal things when they're making friendships, they're getting summertime connections to Winnipeg. Like, this is a pretty good way just to connect them to the franchise, to the organization, to the fans.
Yeah, 100%. And throughout the week they'll get out in the community. We go out for supper at a different restaurant every night in the city, so they can get to see the city and know it a little bit, be out in the community. But not only that, I think the friendships. Like, I was just sitting in there having lunch with the guys and listening to how loud it was in there and everybody talking. It wasn't quiet. It was just, and that's what I was thinking. Okay, this is what you want for a camp like this. Everybody's getting to know each other, right? And that's a big part of it.
Guy like Colby Barlow, this is his third one of these things. He's not a quiet guy. What's it been like to see him grow in this situation?
You know what? It's great. Not only this situation, but over the last few years that we've been able to get to know him. He's very outgoing. He's a great kid. He's going to have some success here.
Jimmy, he talked about leaning on you and Mike and guys like that, Colby, and like when he was going through a bit of a rough patch.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like to see him kind of pull his way out and then just dominate down the stretch into the playoffs?
I think that was huge for him. I think a lot of that is on the player. Like, Mike and I talked to him about certain situations or things. He had a tough start after being traded, and last year was injured, and I think the year before he had COVID to start the year, and there was some things that he had to figure out on his own, and we try and help him with stuff like that. But they had a great coaching staff and ownership in Oshawa that helped him too and made a good run.
Is there a different approach at all with guys like him that are on the cusp of turning pro, like in terms of what they might get out of this camp, or is it just business as usual for everyone?
I think it's business as usual for everyone. I think you try and, it's not really much of an evaluation because it is the middle of summer. But there are some things that, the off-ice testing, certain things that you can give them feedback to say, hey, you got to be better here, or you got to do some stuff here. And, the on-ice, there's a little bit of teaching from the coaches about things that happen at the pro level. Yeah. So there's some things like that they can take away from it. But you also lean on their leadership to help. That's why you have some of those older guys come back so they can help some of the younger kids or the new draft picks or set the bar kind of for where you want it.
Jimmy, just in terms of helping guys, throughout the year, when a guy like Brayden gets traded or Colby gets traded, how much do you involve yourself in after that fact?
I think there's a lot of conversations, not necessarily in the trading or anything like that, but there's a lot of conversations about what to expect, what to do to set your tone when you're going to a new team, and your work ethic and leadership and stuff like that. There's some conversations about that, and these kids are all really good. So it's awesome.
I think one of the big stories from the prospects last year would be the season that Kieron had.
Yeah.
Did you see that coming, or did that even surprise you a little bit?
Not really, because I don't really see much of these kids in their draft year because I follow our players around really closely. Right. So I didn't see that coming. I don't think any of us did. Well, I should say, our scouts probably did because they know what they did, right? Or they know what they drafted. But I think that's a tribute to him and the coaching staff in Sudbury too. They did a really good job believing in him and have confidence and helping him work on the things that he needed to do and put him in situations to succeed.
What stood out to you about Zach Nehring's development over the course of the year?
You know what? Another player who his confidence grew throughout the year. The coaches there worked on him on a real individual basis on pucks on the wall and getting his feet moving and getting in and making contact and using his size in front of the net. All kind of really good things that will help him be a good pro one day.
And also, too, that experience of winning a Frozen Four. What will that
yeah,
mean in the big picture?
I think that's huge down the line. We had Jacob Julian and Zach who both won league titles and Memorial Cup and national championships. I think those are things that you can't teach, but you want that in your environment. You want that to bleed into younger players and that success and that confidence and other things that other guys look up to.
And then take us back to Friday. So you're in the building, Sasha's picked, I mean, you
Yeah.
talked to him shortly after his little car wash area?
Yeah,
or what,
yeah,
What's that
yeah.
scenario like, the back and forth?
It's different. Like the draft is meeting the family, meeting the parents. You know, you're welcoming a kid into your family, so you're those parents and those people and coaches are entrusting you guys that hopefully you can help that kid as best as you can to develop him into an NHL player. And it's just about building a relationship with his parents and the kid and saying hi and supporting him in any way we can for the draft till we get started here, right?
And to those relationships, so I got to think when you see what happened with Chaz and that he had to call it a career, like
Yeah.
you almost probably become a parent in a way, or a de facto parent, get to know these kids so well. What was that like just on a personal level to kind of see him go through that?
You know, it was really tough. I think through his whole time he was with us, he had a number of injuries, even from when he was drafted and stuff like that. And it is unfortunate. Chaz is a really good kid. I like Chaz. That you don't want to see that happen to anybody at any point in their career. He worked hard for us. He did everything he could to come back from injury every time, and it was unfortunate. But I mean, that's hockey too, right? That's professional hockey.
You guys have drafted a lot of character, and you've traded for character too.
Yeah.
Brayden Yager, I want to know what you've been able to learn about him since getting to know him over the course of the last year or so.
I don't want to set any bars too high for him,
Oh, boy.
but he is a tremendous kid, tremendous hockey player. He had some success at the junior level, and I think that will translate into the pro level. He's a really good skater. Character-wise, he loves hockey, loves to talk hockey. He's a hockey nerd, kind of. So it'll be good to see how he transpires at the pro level.
How much excitement is there for you to see a number of these prospects
Yeah.
ready to turn pro?
I know, that's really exciting. That's a good question, because I don't think we've had this many number of prospects be put in this situation before that, turn pro and help the organization, whether it's with the Winnipeg Jets or the Manitoba Moose. There's a development process, and I think it's going to be really fun to watch.
Does that maybe bode well for the Moose, who had trouble scoring and all that sort of this year? Like, there's going to be a lot going on there that might help these guys?
Yeah, I think so, but there's also a big learning curve from the junior game and the college game to the pro game. You're not getting 35 minutes a night, and you're not eating up 2 minutes on a power play every night. There's a lot to learn at the pro level that has to happen. But these are all smart kids and stuff that Keener and I and the American League coaching staff and even the NHL coaches talk to them about development.